Welcome in to Says Who Sports. I'm John Dauphin. Joining me right now is a former guard and captain for the NC State Wolf Pack basketball team. Played at NC State from 96 through 2000. Among the career leaders in assists and steals there when he was done. Has coached with and for names like Herb Sendek, his coach at the Wolf Pack, was on Sendek's staff at Santa Clara, Sidney Lowe, Jason Capel, Steve Wojciechowski at Marquette, Sean Miller at Arizona, been in coaching and on the administrative side as a director of basketball operations, currently the associate head coach for Rick Barnes at 11th ranked Tennessee in his fourth season with the Vols. Justin Gainey. Justin, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us at Says Who Sports.
Hey, John, how you doing, man? Great to be here with you and spend a little time.
Appreciate you taking the time, Coach. We'll talk Tennessee basketball and coming off an Elite Eight run last season in the Grinder SEC, of course. But first, Coach, as mentioned, you played at NC State in the ACC for 4 years. That intensity was no small thing, never changes. Talk about your memories, Coach Gainey, of what it was like. You played in Raleigh, obviously Duke closed, Chapel Hill, Wake Forest, the Tobacco Road thing, to compete in that rugged ACC for 4 years and against fellow great talent.
Yeah, it was it was definitely a great time to be in the ACC. It was the premier basketball conference in the country at the time. And, not to date myself, but, at that time you had a lot of those great players that stayed around in school for 2-3 years sometimes. And so, I ran into the likes of a Tim Duncan, as a Vince Carter, Antawn Jamison, a lot of those guys that in today's game probably would have only been in college for 1 year. And so, the league was a lot smaller then. It was with 9 teams in the league, and
Right.
you had the round robin where you played everybody at home and on the road, and so it was a great time to be in the ACC, and really had a lot of fond memories and a lot of matchups and battles that I look back on that were just it was fun.
You started every game in the 98, 99, and 99, 2000 seasons. From a guard perspective, went against, and some of those names you just mentioned, some incredible talent. Who was the toughest guard you faced in your ACC career, Coach Gainey?
Man, that's a great question, John. Through my career, I played against a lot of good ones, and I'd be um, I wouldn't want to short anybody that I played
Sure.
against by saying just one, but Ed Cota is a guy that comes to mind. He and I were in the
Mm,
same class. His ability to run a team, facilitate, make his guys better, put passes on the money every time. You talk about on time, on target. Every pass he threw, it was like on time, on target. And he was an underrated scorer. Terrell McIntyre is another guy, played at Clemson, North Carolina guy, who was 5'10", 5'11" guard, but he could really score the basketball. He was a lefty, and Coach Barnes actually was coached him at Clemson, and he was different than Ed, in the sense of Ed was more pass first, he was more scoring, but both equally as effective. Ended up having a great career at Clemson, but he and I played in high school against each other as well. So that was that was always a fun matchup. I remember my junior year playing against Steve Francis, who
mm.
was, I mean, big guard, could really score, super athletic. And he just came out of JUCO, and it was his first year in Maryland, and man, he was really really good, and so those are like few guys to jump out. But I mean, every year it was, it was a battle at that position at the time, and everybody had really good point guards. Duke had, Wojciechowski, as when I was a freshman, and my senior year, Jason Williams was the point guard, right? And so, night in, night out, man, it was a battle.
Great names there, of course. Coach Gainey, growing up in North Carolina as you did, which ACC team was your favorite? Who was your favorite college basketball team in general? Was it an ACC team?
And when I was growing up, I followed the NBA probably a little more than I did college, just because I was a huge Magic Johnson fan. To me, he's my all-time favorite player.
I was going to ask you. Awesome.
I just, just the joy that he played the game with, the way he played it, it resonated with me. And so I really, and I know it may sound weird being in that, in the footprint of the ACC, but yeah, I was more of an NBA guy. I watched a lot of Magic Johnson and just idolized him, wanted to be him.
Coach, the legendary Jim Valvano led the Wolfpack, of course, to the national championship in 1983. Died in 1993. You were a teenager when Coach Valvano died. Did you ever cross paths with him as a kid in any way, Coach Gainey, perhaps at a Wolfpack basketball camp?
Unfortunately, not. I never had the chance to cross paths with him or introduce myself to him. And by the time I had gotten to NC State, I'd heard all the great stories about him, and his legacy just, it lives on, and the never give up speech is something that throughout the entire university it resonated with. But a great guy who accomplished a lot on and off the court, but unfortunately I never had a chance to cross paths with him.
Understand. Let's talk your Tennessee Volunteers. And speaking of tough conferences, the tough SEC, we are way early in the season, but as mentioned, the Volunteers sitting on the edge of the top 10 in rankings. We know how that can work up and down. There'll be a lot of movement over the next many weeks. Coming off last season's run to the Elite Eight. Coach, talk about the strength of the SEC. You have a couple of teams, and again, this can all change and likely will. Alabama and Auburn right now in the top 5. You have you guys sitting there in the edge of the top 10. Arkansas with Coach Cal, Florida, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, all in the top 25 now. As mentioned, season just tipped off, but speaks to the expected strength of the conference.
Yeah, the SEC is, it is an unbelievable league. And I think you could make the argument that when you look at from top to bottom, arguably the best basketball conference in the country, and that's not to take anything away from these other great leagues, but the depth that's in this league, the great coaches that are in the league, and you look at some of the great venues that there is to play. You'd be hard pressed to find a much better conference than the SEC. So it's an honor to be in this league. It's an honor to be coaching here. It's an honor to be coaching at Tennessee.
As mentioned, your Volunteers made an Elite Eight run last season, beat a tough Creighton team in the regional semi-final, lost to Purdue with Zach Edey in the regional final. Coach, talk about the feeling of coaching in March Madness, not just being in it, but reaching the level of an Elite Eight. Can you share in that excitement at the time, or are you so focused on the game plan and the preparation that you can't enjoy it so much?
John, I always take time to enjoy it, just because making it to the tournament is so hard. Very few people are able to do it, and you have to sit back and just appreciate it. As a player, we came close but never made it to the NCAA tournament, never played in it. And so I always dreamt of getting one of those watches, that watch that says NCAA tournament on there. Used to have a nice little leather strap on it, and it was classic. It was classic, and The first time I made it as a coach, I was at Marquette, and they went to a new watch. They went to the metal band watch, and I'm like, man, I want the leather watch. I want that one. But nonetheless, it's still amazing feeling to be a part of it, and I make an emphasis at the beginning of the season, and when we're fortunate enough to make the tournament, to let the guys know, like, you accomplished something. Like, this is a big accomplishment. Everybody doesn't get to play in these games, and so you should cherish it. You should enjoy it, soak it in for a minute, and then we move on to, preparing for that matchup. But I make sure I take some time out to just uh, to enjoy the moment. Walking in the arena, and you're getting the different pins every round, and you're seeing all the banners with your logo on there. Like, all of that stuff is just, I mean, it's an amazing feeling. But it's exciting, and arguably the best tournament in all of sports.
Amen. I agree. Just a phenomenal event for 3 weeks at the end of the season. Rick Barnes has done it a long time at a high level, Coach Gainey. One of only 12 coaches ever to lead 3 different programs to the Sweet 16. Speaking of madness, you and Coach Barnes both hail from North Carolina, grew up in the state. What do you say about what you've learned and continue to learn from Coach Barnes? How has he made you a better coach?
Man, Coach Barnes he's amazing. He's amazing, and I would say, like, I mean, on X's and O's, and recruiting, and coaching guys, and understanding what's needed at which time. I mean, he's a mastermind and all of that. But I would say the biggest thing he's taught me is humility. Um, he's taught me how important a relationship with Jesus Christ is, and not being ashamed of it, and just also taught me about sharing and giving of others. He is, as great as he is of a basketball coach, he's an even better man. And he taught me that you can do both, man. You could be a really good coach. You can coach your guys hard. You can push them. You can motivate them, but you can also do those other things. You can be humble. Like, he rarely talks about himself and his accomplishments, and his walk with his faith is so strong that he wears it on his sleeves, and not ashamed to let anybody know that. And that is, at the end of the day, that's what we all will be judged on. And so he's been a great friend. He's been a great mentor for me, and I just try to soak up everything I can when I'm around him.
Powerful life lessons, obviously, Coach Barnes is teaching. Coach Justin Gainey joining us, associate head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. You essentially oversee the Vols defense. Also, your imprint the last few years on the team's defense is strong. Tough defense, a staple of the Vols the last few years in particular. In sports, Coach, often offense and big scoring grabs the attention, but getting stops is crucial, and it turns games. Talk about your approach to coaching effective defense.
Yeah, so defense is something that we pride ourselves on. That we build our culture on, and the guys. It wouldn't be anything without the guys' full commitment to it, and full belief in it. I don't care what kind of schemes you draw up or whatever. Like, if the guys don't believe in it, if the guys don't think it needs, that's what needs to be done to win, then it's not going to work. And so, kudos to the guys that allow us to coach them, and allow us to implement the defensive mindset into the program that Coach Barnes has built. And so it's constant work, and you're never going to be perfect. That's the one thing about defense is you hear a lot of great former players and coaches say good offense beats good defense every day of the week, right? But so you're never going to be perfect. You just want to make teams earn everything they get, and have a sound game plan going into each and every game that maybe not as complicated as it is, that everybody can knows what they're doing, and they can implement that and stick to our core values and our tendencies night in and night out.
You're also, Coach, known for being a strong recruiter. You've done it for many years as a coach and with the Vols, and as we mentioned, Coach Barnes since 2021. Talk about the challenge of recruiting now, Coach Gainey, and how maybe, or has it changed in recent years? And if so, how? It's always been intense to be in there mixing it up, right, for the best players in the country. Mm-hmm. But especially now with the money, we'll say, the money and payment factor that figures in now.
Yeah, that the NIL adds another layer to the recruiting, and it's so new, it's so fresh that I think everybody, including NCAA, is trying to figure it out, and wrap their arms around it. But even with that, I still truly believe that it still comes down to relationships. It still comes down to connecting to that young man, his family, his circle, and getting them to be on the same page, or sharing the same vision as you do with them. And that's what, at the end of the day, I guess recruiting, if you want to call it recruiting, I like to think of it as more like relationship building. Mm-hmm. Is all about, because my goal as a coach has to be in line with that recruit's goals. When I sit in front of his family, and if I believe he's a pro and he believes he's a pro, right, it has to all line up. And from there, we share our vision on how we help get you there, and why our program is best suited to help get you there, or whatever your goal is. Maybe you just want to go and get a great degree, and and while being a really good player, and so, but lining up those goals are huge. And if it doesn't line up, then it's not the right fit, and and you got to be okay with that as well, because at the end of the day, with these young men, you want to see them all succeed. You want to see them all at least have a chance to get to where they're trying to get to. And some things change a little bit when they get to different situations, but you still never stop chasing what you guys agreed upon, and doing that relationship building process of recruiting.
All about the relationships and looking out for them way beyond the court. I gotcha. Are most of your trips, Coach, are they one day, one nighters? Are you traveling from, and I know it can vary, and especially dictated by your schedule with the Vols, the in-season thing. Are you traveling from seeing one player to maybe another across the country? In general, how does that work for you?
It depends on the time. Like right now, we're in season, and so normally you don't want to miss or miss the least amount of practice time as you can, right? Because you still want to you still have responsibilities with your team. And I'll be honest, like that is the my favorite part of the job is being on the court with our guys every single day, getting better with them, hanging out with them, talking to them before, talking to them after practice, chopping it up in the as we eat in the locker room. All of that good stuff is the stuff that that really makes this job. And I mean, I can't call it a job because I love it, but make what we do special. And so for me, I'll try to strategically maybe pick, days that we have off where I could get out and go recruit and then try to get back that same day. But, and, in the off season, before games, before practice, yeah, you may stay out for a couple days, just trying to bounce around, see as many guys as you can. But I would say during the season, we try to pick those off days, and then you'll try to pick like some events where it's got multiple athletes playing, multiple teams playing, and you get to see a lot of guys, kind of get more bang for your buck there.
Your son, Jordan, transferred to the Vols program from South Carolina upstate, is a guard on this Vols team. Purely from a coaching perspective, Coach Gainey, what do you say about his game?
I would say Jordan is kind of a do-it-all kind of guard. He can score it. He can defend. He can facilitate. He can do a little bit of everything. And so it's been fun being with him. It's been fun to watch his development, his growth over over the years, and dating, going back, from just watching him when he was young to where he is now. I'm still like in complete amazement just watching him, but he is he's a guy that's really competitive, and a guy that does whatever whatever we need him to do.
Your Vols are headed for, you and the team headed for the Bahamas for a matchup with Virginia on Thursday night. You won by big margins in your couple games last week versus Austin Peay in Montana. What do you say as well, Coach, about what you see thus far from this Vols team? Early, I know, but the sample you've seen.
Yeah, really excited about the group. I love our guys. We have some great young men in that locker room, and that care for each other, that care for Tennessee, and that are all about everything that us as a program and our culture is all about. And so it's a great group. As far as on the court, we're continuing to grow. We're continuing to learn each other. We're kind of since I've been at Tennessee, in uncharted territory in the sense of how many new faces that we brought in. Before we've had some guys that have been staples of the program that have been here 5 years, that have kind of grown through the program, and with graduation and kind of the way that the new wave of college athletics with the portal and all of that, is kind of, we're having to, we had to this year kind of be a little heavier in the portal than we have in the past. And so we're still learning each other. We're still growing together, but our guys are working hard, and they're trying to, just get better every day, and so it's early, but really excited about this group, really like, the fabric that it's made of. And so we'll just keep growing together and keep learning and keep learning each other. I am excited about this group.
And we talked about Jordan a moment ago. You've been involved in college basketball almost 2 decades as a coach, been married many years, 3 sons, including Jordan. Coach, talk about the importance of a strong family unit and the sacrifice your wife, Courtney, has made to allow you to do. You mentioned a couple minutes ago there, not a job. You don't see it as a job. Obviously, you love it so much. but you're working, and there's
Yeah.
sacrifice involved from a family perspective. What do you say about her toughness? Right, it's a special
Yeah.
toughness to be a coach's wife, and the sacrifice from that perspective that has allowed you to do what you love and keep rising.
Yeah, she's the real superstar. I mean, if she would have shot down my dreams and aspirations early on, and she would have had every right to, because when I look back at it, at those times when I was making $12,000, when I was making $25,000, and then I'm asking her to pick up, hey, let's move and go somewhere else for not a lot of money, right? And she could have easily said no. We're not doing it. But she believed in me. She believed in my dreams, and helping me chase my dreams, and allowed me to just to go out and uh, really focus on it. And she had the house and took care of the boys, and so her resilience, her toughness. I'd also say Jordan and my middle son Jason as well, because as Jordan went to three different high schools,
Mm.
and growing up, and so that was hard on him. That's an age where you're just building relationships and getting to know people, and now you move from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Santa Clara, California to Tucson, Arizona. So he just bounced around and never really got a solid footing anywhere. He was always the new guy. And the same with my middle son, Jason, but neither one of them complained. They never said, Dad, I don't want to go. They were just like, hey, this is what it is. Let's go, Dad, whatever you think. And so those guys, they my family, man, they're tough, they're resilient. I love them. And, none of this could have happened without them. It couldn't have.
What is your perspective? We're talking with Coach Justin Gainey, associate head coach at Tennessee with Rick Barnes. What is your perspective, Coach, on the state of college basketball right now? We spoke of, and you spoke of, we have the portal, we have the compensation, the deals, the NIL, all that happening.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like most when you look at the sport in its current state? And maybe what's your biggest concern about college basketball?
I think it's an exciting time. I think it's been one way for so long that people got comfortable with the norm. And whether the norm was right or wrong, I don't think people really cared, but it was more about keeping it the same. And now change is coming. And me as a former player, I see both sides. I do. I still remember um, hearing, like, when I was younger, and I looked up to the Fab Five, right? It was a polarizing team. And I still remember hearing Chris Webber talk about, like, they're selling my jersey in the bookstore for XYZ dollars, and I can't go buy a cheeseburger. And I remember being a kid hearing that, thinking like, man, that's wild. Like, man,
Yeah.
that he has a point. And so to see it where it is now, I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting for the athlete. I think it's exciting for the university. I also think it's exciting for the fans, because through the NIL, I think they're able to have more touches with the guys. Like, they can have their own basketball camp. Man, wow, that'd be great. Send your kid to
Great
whoever,
point.
whoever's basketball camp, right? Just much more access to the guys, much more touch points. And so I think that's great. I think for the guys, it gives them a chance to kind of, start those entrepreneurial thoughts going. I mean, I can start a basketball camp. I can sell T-shirts. I can do all of these different things that before, they weren't able to do. They were able to they're able to kind of be a brand and think like a brand. And I think it's amazing, and because a lot of these young men will not play in the NBA, will not play in the NFL. These women will not play in the WNBA. But through this new, where we are with it, they are able to monetize in a sense, and hopefully they're smart with the money they do make, and they can make wise investments with it, and be off to a great start whenever whenever college is over, and whatever in their professional whatever they do is over. They can jumpstart life with some money in their pocket, and to do whatever they want. I remember when I was done, I walked away, and it was like, man, I got to figure something out, because
Right.
I'd never really thought about anything other than basketball. I never thought of the business side of things, and the branding part of it, because I mean, these student athletes are on TV a couple times a week. They have brand recognition throughout at least their school's fan base, and for the really good ones, nationally. And so it's a way for them to start to think bigger. And I think those 4 years of college, it's all about education, and it's education getting in the classroom, but also outside the classroom. And it's allowing these young men and women to think beyond today, and see the future, and kind of figure out what they want to do, where they see themselves, where they want to go, and hey, and make mistakes too, like we all did. And so I think it's exciting. I think it's an exciting time. I know, the NCAA and everybody's trying to wrap their hands around it and figure out how it all works, and that's going to be a process within itself. But it's forcing everybody to think more, to think out the box, and I think everybody has um, the right ideas in mind, and I think everybody's on board with, hey, this is good for these young athletes. This is a good thing, and so I'm excited to see where it goes, and I love kind of following the process of it, and I'm hopeful that it would continue to grow, and continue to get bigger and bigger for everybody involved.
Outstanding insight there, Coach. Thanks so much for that. New landscape indeed. So much opportunity opened up to the kids. Appreciate you for taking the time. Again, the Vols are on the way to the Bahamas to face Virginia Thursday night. And then they open SEC play right after the new year with Arkansas and Coach John Calipari. Coach Justin Gainey, the associate head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach. Best to you and the team this season. Safe travels, and get the W in the Bahamas.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it, man, and thank you for taking time out of your schedule and spending with me.